So my name is Joynal Dsouza. So I work as a front-end React Native developer at League X Gaming. So we are a fantasy sports app, and also we are working on blockchain and 3D game development also. So we are in the process of releasing a 3D game. Okay, so I'm here to talk about use of AI for development and debugging of React Native applications. So yeah, AI is replacing developers. Is it? I don't know. Okay. So what I think is the creating new applications. I think it's very easy with ChatGPT. So as a front-end developer, you only need to write the CSS code. So we should start learning or learning CSS properly again. And but I'm not a pessimist about AI replacing us. It's very good. I don't know how well it will take over the old code base, which is very complex. So when the GitHub Copilot comes out, so I want to try that out. How it will affect, like how it will read old code bases to improve it. Okay, so when I started my dev journey, this was the important things which I was taught. So what makes a code great? So first and foremost, it should be readable. So everyone else in the team or other developers should be able to understand your code easily. So that's why the code documentation is important, but we are very lazy to write documentation nowadays, always. So also next thing is scalability of the code. As a JavaScript developers, JavaScript is a single-threaded application. So if your code is it is not optimized well enough, then it may block your thread and your apps might get slower. Okay. Use of AI for React Native development. Has Devansh told us how we can leverage AI to build new applications very easily with just prompts. Of course, it can boost our productivity. If I had to spend 5 minutes of my time to build a small checkbox component, checkbox component in React Native is simple enough. It's like 50 lines of code. But to write that 50 lines of code, maybe I had to spend 10 minutes. But with ChatGPT, with just one prompt, you can just create a component. And you, as I said, back to the first slide, we have to write the CSS code to please our designers and accommodate their changes all the time. Next thing, whenever I see a code, optimization is very important. Before and all, we had to go back after we have written the code. When it is functional, we have to go back and think about how we can optimize a function or something. But with ChatGPT or AI, we can just input our code and let it tell us how can we make our function or code better. So here is an example. So this is a code from our code base. It's very like 2 years old. I asked AI to optimize it. So this no. So this was the answer it gave it to me. So avoid redundant computation of filter. So filter is, as you know, is O of n big O. So here in this old code, I'm calling filter 3 times on same array. So this is kind of on plus on plus on 3n big O of this function right now. But yeah. And also some ternary operation optimization. So this is what it code it gave it to me. So it's using reduce function to get the code. So this is a working code. I tried it out and it really worked. So, but the problem is sometimes it doesn't give you accurate code. You have to know the basics to write the code well enough or modify it to your advantage. But what I like most is that whatever it gives, the suggestions are right and good. So maybe the code is wrong, but still the suggestions are good and we can implement them. Next is documentation. Documentation, earlier we used to write on top of the function whatever, but it was very tedious task and developers would not do the documentation. But now with AI tools, it's become very easier to write documentations. So currently I'm using a extension called Mintlify Doc Writer. So you just have to highlight the code. You just need to highlight the code and it will generate docs for you automatically. So here I'm asking it to generate docs. So this gives me an basic idea of what this function does. So we don't have to spend writing or thinking about what docs we need to write or something. So building new applications is very easy nowadays with ChatGPT, as I said. But in the real world, we are going for the legacy code which was written in React Native 6.0 or 6.4. So with AI, so there are a lot of optimizations coming up nowadays with the React Native versions, but the old code is still there, and companies don't want to spend much time on updating the applications. But still, we as a developers, we should be using with AI. It's easier to optimize functions and all. So we need to spend some time and update our code. So debugging. So I think most of us spend much time on debugging than coding. So with as you see in the meme, so before we used to code for 2 hours and debug for 6 hours. We know what we had written. But with ChatGPT, writing complex code, it's kind of, if you don't understand what it has written, then it becomes very difficult. You have to again rewrite it, taking as prototype. As I said before, we have to prototype with using ChatGPT, but still the current AI is not that good when giving the correct code. And also, so we had some interns in our team, so we had given them a task before. So first, a simple blog application. There they used ChatGPT, and it was easier for them to get the code because it was a new application and they didn't think much of how the code works. So it worked, that it was fine. But when we moved them onto a real project with legacy, like old code, then it became a problem. So they wouldn't understand what the use state or use effect was doing. And so we also have class-based components. So nowadays no one uses class-based class-based components, right? So they had that problem with it. So whoever is starting out, so it's important for them to learn the basics first and then only move on to using ChatGPT or whatever AI comes up. Otherwise, in real world, it becomes a problem if you don't understand the code. Okay, so these are the challenges which I face. Currently we are using React Native version 0.61.5. So it's too old, and the libraries are so we have to use old libraries. Every time if I get asked for a code from ChatGPT, it requires 2 prompts to get it the right answer. Sometimes that also doesn't happen. So you should be smart enough to understand the code and write the code correctly. And second issue was package manager. So we were using React Native animated version 1.0, but when I asked ChatGPT for some code on animation, it gave me the latest version of it. So it doesn't have the old version how to build the application or component of animation. So package manager version mismatch is also a problem. And thirdly, missing code base context. So if I want to write a or ask for a function to a chat GPT, it doesn't know the context of it. So if it understands the context, then the code generation may be 100% perfect. And generating complex applications and debugging is not good at the moment with ChatGPT, and also we have 3000 character limit in ChatGPT 3, and I haven't used ChatGPT 4, but it has promising things. Next, so GitHub Copilot is coming up, and it will have an extension to VS Code. So I wanted to debug my applications. I'm waiting for it since next week I'll be working on improving or updating our code base to RN7.0, and with new architecture coming up, I hope your AI helps me to do that.